Good evening and welcome to the February 25th, 2015 Brighton Town Board meeting. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Supervisor. It's great to have all of you here in the audience tonight, but also those of you that are watching us at home on cable, streaming on your computer. We appreciate everybody's participation. Now, in case of an emergency tonight, the Town Hall emergency alarm system will be activated. In fact, they ran tests of it this morning, so I know it works. But if you hear the alarm, please immediately get up and leave the room, either by the door to my right, turn right, go down the stairs and out the rear doors of Town Hall away from the building, or through either of the two double doors in the rear of the building. Again, go out the main front door of Town Hall, down the steps, and away from the building. Now, we do occasionally experience technical difficulties during the live broadcast. If you're watching on cable and have difficulty seeing the broadcast or hearing the broadcast, please call Time Warner Cable at 756-5000. That's 756-5000. Now, we will be going into our open forum in just a moment. But first, I'd like to start with a pledge to the flag, and I'll ask Councilmember Chris Warner to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As I mentioned, we start every town board meeting with our open forum. It gives you the opportunity to speak to the town board about any matter that may be of interest to you, whether or not it is on the agenda tonight. As we deal with matters, we welcome that input. Now, if you're at home and you would like to call in, you can do so. The telephone number is 303-3060. That's 303-3060. Someone will take your call and relay your comment or your question to us. I will say we try to answer questions. Sometimes we can't right away, but if that's the case, we will get back to you as soon as we can. If you're deaf or hearing impaired, we also have a TDD line that we can take your question or comment during the open forum. The TDD line is 784-5205. Again, that's 784-5205 for the TDD line. Now, if you're here to address a matter that's on for a public hearing tonight, we have one matter for a public hearing tonight, and that is the University of Rochester's proposed institutional plan district incentive zoning project for their South Campus area. If you're here to speak to that public hearing, which has been held open from prior meetings, and you'd like your comments included in the record of that hearing, please wait until I call that matter. I would also note we do have the Whole Foods proposal is, you'll see that on our agenda tonight. I just want to let people know in case you're here to address that matter. Tonight's action, we have just received this past week the formal application from the Daniele family for their plaza redevelopment proposal, which would include the proposed Whole Foods. Tonight's action will be to formally enter that application as part of the record of the town. And also I anticipate to refer it to the planning board for an advisory report, which is our regular procedure for incentive zoning applications such as this. There will not be any formal town board action on it tonight or frankly in the near future. But we certainly welcome any comments that people may have. But I just wanted to make it clear to folks, whether you're here or at home, that we won't be taking any substantive action on that matter tonight. Now, if you would like to speak during the open forum, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. If you would come to the podium, please state your name and address. It's important that you come to the podium because we have a microphone there and members of the audience watching at home will be able to hear you. Please address your comments to the town board and not to other members of the audience. Please be courteous and try to keep your comments as concise as possible. If you do have written comments, we're happy to receive them, and they also would be included in the formal town records. So with that, we'll now begin the open forum. Is there anyone that would like to address the town board on any matter during the open forum? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Ben Wersinger. I live on Shoreham Drive here in Brighton. And I know you just talked about the Clover Lanes redevelopment project. Just want to quickly say a couple things. There's a few of us here from the neighborhood that, as of a couple of days ago, just found out about the public hearing. So I apologize that this is not the appropriate time and location to talk about it. But there's a lot of concern of folks in the Clover Downs neighborhood about this particular development going in. I know you guys probably haven't even seen the plan. There was a meeting 2 days ago that the Daniellis called where it was kind of just sprung upon us that this is going to happen and that we didn't necessarily have a voice in the whole process, which has caused some alarm for people. So I just want to tell you guys that there's a lot of concern about it in that neighborhood, specifically where entrances are, how many commercial locations are going to be in that already crowded neighborhood. And we would appreciate it if there was a lot of transparency around sort of when these hearings are, what issues we can weigh in on, and how we can have a voice in the whole process. We all have young families in that neighborhood, and there's a lot of people that live there, so we'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Three of us, Jason and Chris and myself, were at that meeting. It wasn't, as you know, a town meeting. It was an informational meeting that the Daniellis called. We asked them to do that. We ask any developer with a significant incentive zoning project to do that because it is important. We want to make sure that people who live close to any project hear about it as soon as possible. As I mentioned, the formal application came in to us, shortly before that meeting. And it's important to us that you have a voice. My experience, and we've got people sitting up here that have been on the board longer than I have, but our collective experience is that public input it gives us important knowledge. It gives us the opportunity to, take your concerns and questions and comments, both thumbs up and thumbs down, into account. Obviously, traffic is going to be a major matter that will, have to be addressed as this project goes through the review, starting with discussion at the planning board. So we will keep that in mind. I think the most important thing to know, not only, again, the fact that we're not making any decisions tonight or anytime soon, but those plans that were presented by the developer at that meeting are by no means cast in concrete. In fact, I would be shocked if things don't change as time goes on. But you will have a voice. The public hearings, we will make sure, there are certain legal requirements when we hold a public hearing, but we always try to do more. We want to make sure that the stakeholders know about a meeting and can participate in a meeting. But it's always good to have that reminder, and we appreciate your doing so.
And we also want you to know that we didn't have a lot of meetings with them beforehand and have everything set the way they presented it the other night. We just found out about it a little while ago too, so nothing's happening behind the scenes. Yeah,
it's their presentation, and so we'll begin the review process now that we have something to review. Yes, ma'am.
Judy Van
Would you?
Helm.
Thanks.
I live on Shoreham Drive also, and I don't know exactly, our zoning is split. So evidently, some people who pay Brighton taxes on our street got notification, but those of us that only pay the school taxes did not. So it's like the street cleaner puts the brush down 6 houses, then lifts it and goes around the corner till it gets to the next part of where the Brighton houses are, and puts it down and goes around. So we're disconnected. The snowplow does the whole thing, but so we'd like to be more like the snowplow instead of the street cleaner. And if there is a way I would like to know what we should be looking at, what keeps us connected during this process. So I would like you to know that just because my kids graduated 20 years ago, but I love my house and I love my street, so I'm no less emotionally involved in this than somebody who's paying Brighton taxes. So it's really a very cohesive street, and we all care. So whatever the process is, I would very much appreciate knowing where we should look, how we would know that meetings are happening, and that sort of thing. And we'd like to be very much connected, if possible.
Yeah, and we, we directed the Daniele family to send out, postcard invitations to the meeting. I take it that what happened, and I believe through our assessment office, we provided addresses, but of course we have Brighton addresses. It's a fair point, and your neighborhood is very, the line runs right through the neighborhood. So I do think it's important that everybody in the area is aware of it, and going forward, we'll try to make sure that as we do, as I mentioned, do more than just the legal requirement in terms of putting a notice in the newspaper, that we make sure that some of those houses that are close by.
Oak Hill notifies us all when they're, when they have a turn list. So Oak Hill has a list that notifies everybody in the area about what's happening there and parking, et cetera. So perhaps that might be a useful tool.
Okay, we'll look to see, we like to use, an official assessment type list, because those are the most up to date. But that's a good idea. I would also note the town of Brighton does. I may not have even mentioned this. I usually do. We have the agenda of tonight's meeting and all the supporting material for tonight's meeting on the back table. But we also post all of that on the Town of Brighton webpage at www.townofbrighton.org. All of our resolutions, all of the supporting materials. Right now, for example, that application is on our webpage there. What I anticipate we'll be doing, as we do for most significant projects, we'll set up a tab at some, I can't tell you exactly where, but we will make sure that there is a location on our webpage to make it easier for people to look for documents like the application, like the preliminary environmental information, the environmental assessment form, the so-called short form EAF that they have submitted. We'll get those materials up on the webpage. But whether you're here in the audience or watching at home, that agenda, the supporting material, and the application that we're going to be receiving tonight are included in the packet of the meeting. And as I said, we do want to make sure that the public is involved and connected to the review process at all stages. So.
And as at the presentation, I heard Mr. Daniele say, and I've spoken to him about this as well, I think all of us have, that he needs to be open and responsive to the residents' concerns. And I recently heard Bill say what comes in is not what comes out on these plans once it's gone through the process. And what's happening in the interim is your folks' comments, our comments, and hopefully those are addressed in changes in the project. And I think the University of Rochester here can attest to a 20-year process, perhaps. That's what
Not quite. No, no, no.
Wasn't quite 20, all right,
No,
but
no, no.
an extended period, extended process,
The
but.
university took that project back for several years. I don't want there to be.
Oh, yeah,
any
yeah, no misunderstanding,
thought that-
please, but the university has made significant changes in their plan directly responsive to the residents' comments. So please, and I think in fairness to Mr. Daniele as well, make the comments to him. Don't wait for a public meeting here. By all means, they'll have an impact here, but make them in writing in a comprehensive way to the Daniele so that they can't say that they've been caught unaware of the concerns of the neighborhood.
Is there an address or a website or something?
Mario's Restaurant, I think, would probably do it. Or just drop it off at the front desk. And I know I heard many of your comments. I believe, Judy, you and I spoke at the meeting. Traffic is a great concern, and egress out there onto Clover and what the impact's going to have on trying to turn left out of Shoreham.
And again, I don't, for a minute, when I say nothing is cast in concrete, that includes ingress and egress onto any of the streets other than Monroe Avenue. Those are all things that are going to have to be reviewed. There'll be, their traffic engineer was there at the meeting. We will have a traffic engineer as well, as we always do in projects like this. It's important to us that we have professional expertise. We have our, please let me finish, okay? And when people do speak, I need to have you come to the podium. We will have professional staff in addition to our own staff. The developer will pay for us to have professional staff of our own selection, including traffic consultants. Several of you have come in while we've been talking here. But we are talking about the proposed Daniele project. Tonight, we will not be taking any action other than to formally receive their application and refer it to the planning board. But we are in the open forum portion of the meeting where we welcome comments. We've heard a couple of comments already. So I just want to lay the table for folks that are still walking in. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during the open forum? Again, this matter will be on the agenda later, but only for formally receiving it and referring it to the planning board. Yes, sir, come on up. Yeah, if you would come to the, we have people watching at home and they can't hear you if you don't use the mic.
This may have been covered already as I.
And if you could,
unfortunately-
if you don't mind stating your name and address, we'd appreciate that too.
Of course. My name is Devin Marinan. The address is 272 Shoreham Drive. It's the Clover Downs neighborhood, the one that will be directly impacted by, or may be impacted by some of the portions of this development. If anybody mentioned it, I'm sorry to reiterate it, but one of the main concerns, and I kind of just want to make sure this is on the record, one of the main concerns.
And let me just, this is not a formal public hearing.
Okay.
We will all and appreciate what you're saying tonight. There will in the future be formal public hearings where your comment and input is included in the formal record relating to the project. Okay. But trust me, we're listening tonight.
Okay, so the big concern is just the cut-throughs on either side of the plaza. Coming out onto Clover, without it sounding too harsh, the kind of blatant, to me at least, blatant approach of we know that there will be additional congestion on Monroe Avenue, and in some ways, let's relieve that congestion by allowing it to trickle out the side entrances. Specifically stating that, probably not, but I believe that is probably what's going to end up happening. The biggest concern from my perspective as a resident is those two side entrances from the development. And I believe at the meeting the other night that was made very clear to the developer that that was the case. All of the other things involved, they had not done, and the reason I bring it up now is they had not done a traffic study of what would happen anywhere other than on Monroe Avenue, according to their traffic guy. So I guess one of the things that we would ask for is that that was done.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We keep referring to the University of Rochester project partly because they're here tonight, but as part, for example, of the traffic study that we did on that project, we looked at a number of intersections, not just, one intersection in front of where the university is going to have their main ingress and egress point for the South Campus. We know that significant development that is traffic generating affects traffic over a broad area. So as we review traffic data and as we discuss with the applicant going forward, it will be important that we look at not just the stretch of Monroe Avenue in front of where the plaza will go, or one or two intersections that are on Monroe Avenue, but also a number of intersections in the area to determine what traffic impact can be anticipated at those intersections as well. And I have no doubt, for example, that Clover Street between Allens Creek and Monroe will be one of the several traffic segments, highway segments that any traffic study will look at. And in case anybody got here after I mentioned it, not only they have a traffic consultant who was at that meeting, but the town will also have its own traffic consultant reviewing the traffic conditions.
Before you leave, just identify myself. I'm Jim Bogle, one of your councilmen. I live in your neighborhood.
Oh, beautiful.
So, I'm not far away.
Uh-huh.
You can walk to my house and, express yourself verbally or whatever. But just understand a process here in Brighton. This is what we're going to do tonight is just refer an incentive zoning application, nothing more. That goes to our planning board. Your planning board here in this town is a very thorough, a very thoughtful organization. Things don't come just blithely through there without a thorough review. We also have a conservation board, an architectural review board. There are a lot of boards that are going to review this just like every other application. So don't worry, this is months down the road. And public input is everything to us, just like Bill and Chris have said. And just understand that. We are a very transparent form of government. We're very proud of that. And our primary interest is you, our neighborhoods, okay? I have an abiding interest in this one. But at the same time, the Daniellis are only coming forward in a forthright way as we've asked them to. So this is just the first step in this. So don't get a high level of anxiety about this, because nothing's going to happen, that quickly.
Or behind anybody's back.
Or
I think
behind
that's the
anybody's
most
back.
important thing.
You bet. You bet. And we are no further than, well, you can come to my house, but the point being is I have an abiding interest in this one, just like you do, because I live in your neighborhood.
Great.
So just, I want to assure you of that.
That is
the same
reassuring
thing
to
with
hear.
all of our colleagues here. Things just don't move through Brighton without a thorough review, as the U of R can tell you.
Thanks for coming in
Thanks for
tonight.
coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Sure.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during the open forum? Then we're going to have a presentation from the Brighton Police Department. In the meeting packet tonight is the 2014 annual, no, maybe I should wait because I see, Mark, are you ready?
Yeah.
Good, okay. The 2014 annual report is in your meeting packet, and I'm going to call on Chief Mark Henderson to introduce his team and to present the annual report to the town board and to the residents of Brighton.
Thank you, Supervisor Maley. I'll be brief. What I've done for the past 4 years is try to give you an overview of what has happened the previous year. That's what I'll do now. I am going to talk about some traffic issues and some crash data, and in particular areas that we identify, like the Monroe Avenue corridor that we monitor for crash activity. This is our new look.
It's a new look, not by choice. The Ford Motor Company changed their workhorse police vehicle, and this is what we're introducing to the town. It's a smaller engine, it's a larger platform, it allows us to get our equipment in. Each police car has multiple computer tablets. There's a mobile data terminal, a tablet, a printer, and then throw in the other requirements, long rifles, et cetera. So we needed something a little bit bigger, and that's what we have found and we're introducing into our fleet. Over the long haul, we hope that the reduced engine size will give us a higher mile per gallon. We're a 40-person police department, sworn. We have another 20 or so civilian staff. We couldn't do our job without the civilian staff. And I thank the town board for keeping us at the 40 level. Just a quick overview of who we are and how we are on a schematic. This is a breakdown of calls for service, and you're going to look at what happened in 2013 and why such a dramatic increase. In 2013, we started to capture proactive data as opposed to just reactionary data. We actually tried to quantify a police officer's day. We certainly can respond to 911 calls, we can handle the 911 calls, but what about the time of day when they're not being driven by a 911 call? You asked our police officers to conduct some proactive activities, directed traffic patrols, directed special attentions, and directed foot patrol, and what you see is a correlative effect of an increased calls for service. And since we started capturing this data, you'll see that in 2014, our self-initiated activity went down, but our response activity went up for a total of 1% increase in calls for service. Basically, we captured data. The old-fashioned way we did it using the FBI's Uniform Crime Report. That captures the most significant crime in an incident. New York State changed the system. They want all incidents. If you have a robbery, usually there's a grand larceny, which is another felony charge, and that's what gets captured in the NIGR system in New York State. Our total offenses went up by 3.7%. I'll have an answer for you as to why. We've changed some approaches. We've had some increases in arrests that have led to this number. I have some good news in this overall report, and this is the best news that I can deliver to the community. 4 years ago, I talked about a spike in activity, 2011, 2012, the number of burglary incidents. We had a dramatic increase in 2014, and I pulled some data. It's one of our lowest points ever for the number of reported burglaries. And now we need to find out why. Why is this happening? Why is there a 46% decrease in the number of burglary activities? I don't know if it's our increased visibility. I don't know if it's our increased special attentions that we're doing from a proactive standpoint. I can point out that career criminals, with the advent of forensic technology, we're linking more criminals to more crimes, longer criminal sentences. I think I've seen across the board crime in the city of Rochester and in the Monroe County region is down. I don't know if it's down as dramatically as we experienced it here with our burglary incidents. What this does is kind of quantify the time of day that we have a burglary, and this allows us from a management perspective to dedicate our patrols. Our patrols are staffed based, we have a 36,600 population at night. We have about 100,000 population during the daytime. Out of that 40 sworn pool of police officers, we have to kind of break up the day. And we track the data, time of day activity, so that we can adequately staff patrols. This is a concern. This is a concern for the police department. Our larceny incidents have increased from 2013 to 2014. Looking into what type of criminal activity this is vehicles being unlocked, items being stolen from the vehicle, items being unsecured. And why such, if we've had such a dramatic decrease in burglary activities, why have we had such a dramatic increase in larceny incidents? And I think we can directly attribute this to the drug problem that we have in our community and the ease of which criminals can take from an unsecured vehicle small items, pawn them for cash. We'll look at ways to address this issue specifically. We'll look at ways to come up with a community education program, and we'll reach out to our neighborhood partners to try to come up and get the message out that I think we could dramatically impact and make this as big a decrease as the burglary incident was if we start to lock vehicles and secure items. Again, this breaks down the time of day for staffing purposes as to when this is happening. We have a spike around the noontime hour. Is that because our parking lots are full? Is it that's where our criminal activity, and I think that correlates to that. We've had an increase in arrest bookings, and I'll show you shortly why that is. We track demographics. The state will look at this demographic as well. Our 20-year-old population seems to be where a majority of our arrests are lying. Domestic violence has been a national topic this past year. It's also a local topic in Monroe County the past week or so. The Brighton Police Department takes the investigation of domestic violence incidents very seriously. We have a pro-arrest policy. We have a mandate that when an officer is dispatched to a domestic-related incident, that incident be documented. You cannot just go to a scene and not write what happened. We have a supervisory component. The state has broadened the definition of a domestic relationship to include people that have a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, where in years past it was never that, it was spouse. This is important that we look at this. This is important from a societal perspective. We try to address the underlying causes of domestic incident. New York State captures for us information. They provide us with this information. They put out an annual report by jurisdiction. There is some good news trending. From 2013 to 2014, the crime victim data is decreasing. That'll be monitored from the state level. This is something that they started a few years back. Again, what time of day is the domestic violence? Late afternoon, early evening. We staff accordingly. I heard traffic is a concern from the community earlier. It's a concern for the police department. I have good news in this perspective. Our crash data, our motor vehicle accident is decreasing. It's been steadily decreasing. We had a 9% decrease from 2013. Tragically, last year we experienced 2 fatalities, and those fatalities came in the form of pedestrians that were struck. One involved an intoxicated driver, another did not. We will try to address the issue of pedestrian and bicycle safety. I know that is key to the town, providing a walkability area for the community. We also want to look at ways to address the pedestrian accidents that we're experiencing. There is some downward trends. I heard Monroe Avenue as a concern earlier. It's a concern of mine. We are monitoring the crash data on Monroe Avenue. I have some good news. For the last year, there's been a decrease in the Monroe Avenue corridor. That may correlate. That may be because of construction that was occurring in the area. We'll monitor this year's time period to last year's. The project is done. We'll see if it's had a significant impact or some type of a positive impact. I can tell you that Divergent Diamond on Winton Road has had a significant impact on the number of crashes in that area. The times that the officers are not being dispatched to a 911 call, we've asked them to utilize their time to address specific community needs. We've heard repeatedly, and I've been the chief of police since 2010, and I have heard repeatedly that traffic concerns affect neighborhoods. We're addressing those traffic concerns by targeting enforcement where we get areas that have been identified as being problematic. That has correlated to a 12% increase in the number of traffic tickets that our department has issued from 2013 to 2014. It should be noted that none of the money that is raised through these traffic tickets comes directly back to the town of Brighton. It does not fund the police department. Last year at this time, I noted that we had a significant decrease in the number of DWI arrests. And I identified that as being problematic, and I identified that as being something that we needed to change from a departmental approach. We made a departmental approach. We changed. Last January 1st, we implemented a nighttime traffic patrol that has a special emphasis solely on looking for an intoxicated driver. We talked to the department about the need for strengthened DWI enforcement, and we have noted a 116% increase in the number of individuals that the Brighton Police Department has arrested for DWI.
Next week, Monroe County will be recognizing Officer Taylor Barth for his activity in regards to this area. They'll also be recognizing Officer Sam Weech. Officer Weech transferred to the Brighton Police Department last June. Officer Barth, Taylor Barth, was the officer assigned to the traffic unit. He led the department in DWI arrests, second to Sam Weech, who started in June. I also had received information that the department will be getting formal recognition for this positive increase in the area of DWI enforcement. We still have a lot of work to do, and our work will come in the form of education. We'll talk about the dangers of intoxicated driver. We'll continue to do a strong enforcement effort. One of our areas that it keeps us the busiest, and that's responding to alarms, burglar alarm, robbery alarms, and fire alarms. And if you look at this data, an overwhelming majority are false alarms. We do not charge for a false alarm. It's part of business, part of policing business. We try to work with a location that has been identified as a problem area, where we're called repeatedly for false alarms. We find that a majority of the time, it's usually something wrong with the system. We encourage the homeowner or business owner to get their system worked on. We will work rather than charge for a false alarm. We do community outreach. This is a pharmaceutical take-back. This is the pharmaceutical take-back that occurred last April. These are Brighton Police Explorers. Supervisor Maley is there. Councilperson Novros is in the background. Councilperson Novros has spearheaded this effort for a number of years. We recently, the police department and the town, was recognized by the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration for our efforts in securing pharmaceuticals. To date, since we first started, we've collected almost 5,000 pounds, or specifically 4,955 pounds. The picture that's captured to the left is not a post box. It's a secure drug box that's kept in our lobby. People that have unwanted pharmaceuticals can stop by the Brighton Police Department. We open at 8 in the morning and close at 6 p.m. You can drop off unwanted pharmaceuticals anytime we're staffed. We also do outreach to the nursing homes, adult senior facilities, and we will take back on a monthly basis unwanted pharmaceuticals. And then again this year, on Saturday, April 25th, we will be conducting a community event. As you can see from the picture, you can just drive in. You don't have to leave your car. We'll take the unwanted pharmaceuticals. We will work with Monroe County, and we will have those unwanted pharmaceuticals incinerated in Niagara Falls. They will not come into the environment. Part of our goals and objectives for 2015 is to strengthen upon our community engagement initiative that we started 2 years ago. We're morphing into a community outreach phase. A number of staff, myself included, will be presenting and talking specifically about the Brighton Police Department. I talked about our special emphasis on DWI enforcement and our approach to bicycle and pedestrian safety. This is a work in progress. We've also started a social media outreach. We're trying to get better at two-way communication. As the chief, I'd like to know how we're doing, what we're doing, if it's positive or if it's negative, and I'll have my contact information as the last slide. We've launched a Facebook page. We've tried to provide real-time information to the community with the Facebook page, Brighton Police Department, and we're getting more and more interaction with this Facebook page. And again, this is my direct line. You can contact me directly at my office or through email. If you missed any of our presentation, the annual report is on the town website, www.townofbrighton.org, or we have a link on our Facebook page. I'd be happy to address any questions that anybody may have tonight, or if anybody that's watching from home, just call my office directly, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you about your concerns.
You didn't update our number?
No, I think it's 8,000.
8,000, so I'll have to talk to my...
That was just 2003.
That was one single year, and I represented that as being in its totality.
8,000 pounds.
4 tons.
4 tons.
Thank you, Mark, and also JP, David, thank you both very much. I know you played a major role in putting this report together. I certainly, apropos of the discussion we've had about traffic, I do think it's very important to see the impact that your police work has had in the DWI area. That is, you know, it just can't happen. And the level of enforcement, ramping it up the way you have, is so important to the quality of life. But I think it's also, I'm pleased to continue to see positive results from the Diverging Diamond. We'll look to see what the state's project on Monroe Avenue will have done once we get, you know, year-over-year numbers. But thank you all very much for that presentation. Again, before we go into the business part of the meeting, is there anyone else that would like to address the board during our open forum? Hearing none, we will move on. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Can I have a motion to approve and file the town board minutes for the meeting held on January 28, 2015?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Now we will hold the continuation of the public hearing on the proposed University of Rochester incentive zoning and rezoning application for their institutional plan development proposal in their south campus. Again, that is a public hearing that has been held open. I anticipate that we will hold it open for at least one more meeting night. But is there anyone here that would like to address the University of Rochester's institutional plan development, incentive zoning, and rezoning proposal? I know we've had a presentation initially from the university. We do have representatives from the university and from their professional team that are here. Yes, come on up. Good evening.
Dawn Baranovich, 1180 Crittenden Road. I just have a couple questions about the emergency access road, when it will be put in place, if it will be paved, if it'll be a stone road, and how, you know, will it be maintained, plowed throughout the year, and that type of thing. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Tom or Jose, would you like to address that?
Let me just say this.
And if you didn't, state your name and
Yeah, Tom
please.
Reiner, sorry. Rochester, F University. The easement itself, the way we've been discussing it, will be certainly in force prior to action.
And when you say prior to action,
by the boards.
Okay.
Yeah, and the construction of it in consultation with the town would be prior to any of the buildings that would benefit from it actually happening. I think that's what we've been discussing. As to whether it will be paved or gravel, that's still up for discussion with our servient estate, RG&E. Whatever happens, it will be in agreement with the town, it's agreement with RG&E, and obviously adequate for purpose.
Ms. Baranovich did raise a good question in terms of winter maintenance. I understand it sometimes snows here this time of year.
Once in a while.
And is it the university's intent to take responsibility for the winter maintenance of that emergency?
Again, it's in discussion with RG&E. What I can guarantee is that between the two of them, there will be access 365 days a year.
Good. Thank you. Jose?
Just want to make.
And again, if you could state your name for the record.
Jose Fernandez with the University of Rochester. Just make one adjustment. Our plan is to secure the easements, if possible, before board action. But what we've been saying all along is that we would have all the easements, and we would also have the access road built when we do the residential development on that end. We're working to make that happen, but we're not necessarily sure that we'll be able to get the appropriate easements prior to board action. And then our intent basically is to, when the road is built, to basically maintain it. And we're not certain whether it'll be paved or whether it will be stone dust, but it will be an appropriate road for being able to accommodate emergency vehicles through that portion.
Yeah, Tom referenced, when the buildings that would benefit from it, and I'm just trying to visualize. I mean, I understand, for example, your first building proposal, the proposed medical imaging building, which will be out on the East River Road end of the project, and we'll have multiple points of access to East River Road and I guess through the adjoining parking facilities, and then on to Merlin. I'm sorry. But as you get even the the academic, more commercial development, as it gets in off of East River Road, you become dependent on that Merlin Road point of entry, and I'm wondering whether. And the good news is I know this is some number of years down the road, but I'm wondering whether waiting until the residential properties are completed might not really be early enough for those sort of middle zone commercial academic university buildings that.
Yeah. I think why don't we leave it at this for tonight? That we'll have a better answer in terms of more concrete talking with the staff, and I think that when we look at that, because you're right, I mean, as you start going south, further south, the need for an emergency access from that southwestern corner becomes more evident. I think certainly before this board takes any final action, we'll know exactly when.
Great.
Right?
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on the matter of the University of Rochester institutional plan development incentive zoning public hearing? Any questions from board members? Again, it's our intent to keep this hearing open at least one more town board meeting, so everyone will have a continued opportunity to address it, but we appreciate the university being here and present to answer questions. It's very helpful for all of us, so thank you for that. Hearing none, then we will end the hearing tonight and hold it open to our next meeting. Thank you. Next item on the agenda are communications. Can I have a motion to receive and file the communications?
So moved. Second?
We've heard Chief Henderson present the 2014 annual report of the police department. We'll formally receive that tonight, and thank you again, Mark. We've also received the annual report for the Brighton Fire District from Larry Hauk. the treasurer of the fire district. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on communications? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Committee reports, Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. Louise?
Yes, Parks, Recreation, and Community Services met this past Monday. It was a rather short meeting because there were a lot of people that had other things on their agenda. The summer brochure is being prepared for mid-April. If anybody has anything that they want included, please get in touch with Becky Cotter at the Rec Department. The renovations are continuing at the Carmen Clark Lodge and at Buckland Lodge. The family swimming program is very popular, and they are opening a new class because they have so many people that are interested in it. Tomorrow night, there's going to be a field use meeting with Brighton Baseball, and there was a report on the comp plan. One of the members is from the Rec Department, who is part of the comprehensive plan. They are moving forward, and there's a subcommittee now that is sending out RFPs for requests for a consultant. The library brochure, if you all have a chance to pick it up here or at the library, talks about all of the programs that they are offering this coming month, and it's very complete, and they have thousands of people that are visiting their library every month. There was also a Say Yes to Dress program where people could donate old prom dresses and for people who cannot afford new ones, and that was very, very successful. As far as the community services part, we have 3 recycling programs coming up. The first is the pharmaceutical, as Mark told you about, April 25th from 10 to 2, and the police side of the town hall. And the Explorers will be helping us out again. In fact, I think they were going to be helping us out at all 3 events. The next one will be Clean Sweep on the 16th of May, and we want to try to get the neighborhood associations involved more than they have been. Most neighborhoods in Brighton have pocket parks, and if we can get people to clean up their neighborhoods and the parks, by then I hope the snow will be melted and we will find lots of stuff underneath. I don't know how the highway department would feel, but I'm sure we'll find lots of leaves as well. And if we could bag those, it would help our neighborhoods. And we'll put them in separate bags. Okay. All right. And then on the 30th of May, we will have the electronics and the shredding at the highway department ops building. So if you have any questions about any of these events, please feel free to contact me.
Thank you, Louise.
This time I have it. The next meeting will be on March 23rd at 4:30 at Brookside. Public is welcome.
Thanks, Louise. Just this past week, Best Movie Oscar was awarded to the movie Birdman. And that is one of the movies that the library will be screening this month. So they're really, unfortunately, I think I'm tied up that night. I haven't seen it yet, but that's going to be shown in March. Another event I just want to make people aware of, because Brighton Recreation is involved working with Brighton High School. Of course, March is Women's History Month, and we will be recognizing that important historic, significant period at our next town board meeting. But on Sunday, March 8th, in the Buckland House at Buckland Park, we will be celebrating Women's History Month, historic women of Brighton. And these women will be portrayed by Brighton High School students. Each room of the Buckland House will feature a Brighton High School student who will be portraying a significant woman in the history of the town of Brighton. And as part of the celebration, participants will go from room to room, meet these really important women to our history. They'll have the opportunity to receive a keepsake journal and share their recollections of the day. This is a great project that our town historian, Mary Jo Lanfear, is working with ninth graders at Brighton High School and the English department at the high school. So again, that's Sunday, March 8th, starting at 2 o'clock at the Buckland House. Very, very special event. Thank you, Louise, again for that committee report. Chris, Finance and Administrative Services.
Bill met on Tuesday, February 17th, last Tuesday. All the matters discussed are on tonight's agenda, so I won't address them at this moment. But our next meeting will be next Tuesday, March the 3rd at 3:30 p.m. However, we have a location change. It'll be in the downstairs meeting room rather than the stage conference room.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Public Safety, Jason?
Yes, Bill, the Public Safety Committee has not met since our last town board meeting. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, March 10th. We meet in the lower level community meeting room at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the public is invited to attend.
Second Tuesday of every month.
Second Tuesday of every month, yes.
Great. And Jim, Public Works Committee.
Public Works has not met since our last committee, or our last council meeting. And our next meeting, I'm going to ask, normally is on the first Tuesday, but because of death in the family, I'm going to ask, we're going to schedule that possibly the week after, maybe on Monday, but not to conflict with your Tuesday meeting. So we'll look to see if we can put that on the website, but I'd like to see if we could do that a week from, in other words, a week
That'll
from
be
Monday.
Monday the 9th.
Yes, yeah.
The regular time at
9 a.m. in the lower level community meeting room. And Tim will work on confirmation of that, but we'll try to do that.
And once we have confirmation, Dan, you and Mary Ann can coordinate the revised notice. Thank
Writing
you.
that note now.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, that completes our committee reports. New business. Chris, reading and approval of claims.
Bill, I've reviewed claims tonight totaling $1,409,546.08. Amongst them, I found the following notable. Some $440,000 paying down on library, fuel depot, and park acquisition bonds. Salt, $75,000, certainly a sign of the times. Ambulance, our contract with the ambulance service, $276,000, which is $306,000 minus the fuel cost that we deduct from the total of $30,000. A very large item was the medical insurance premium, some $285,000. Also, I was pleased to see the Bayer Landscape charge for the some engineering work on the shared use trail. We're beginning that work over on the what's referred to as the Ferris property, or the Elmwood to Westfall shared use trail at this point. Some $12,790, and I saw $60 for 6 new fiber drums for the drug take back, which is a clear indication that that's going to continue, as Louise has indicated. I find the claims to be in order, and I move that they be approved for payment.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you for that, Chris. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. The next matter, Jim.
All right. The next item is to reaffirm the business associate agreement with Brown & Brown of New York to continue to provide healthcare administrative services. Moving the resolution is prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This continues an existing contractual arrangement we've had in place with Brown & Brown relating to our healthcare coverage, and authorizes that to continue without further town board action, so long as the terms remain as they are.
Right, just to clarify, so this is one of those agreements that we've discussed where it's a fairly standard agreement year to year, and rather than bringing it back to the town board every year for renewal and approval to authorize the supervisor to essentially execute the same agreement, you're giving the supervisor the authority to continue to execute
So
that
long as the
agreement
terms-
in future years as well, so long as those terms remain substantially unchanged.
Do we still need their services if we get into the consortium?
Yes.
Right, and we need their services, and really all we're doing here is we're required under HIPAA, basically it's a federal health law about the portability of intellectual privacy information, and we're just required to execute an agreement with anyone who has access to our healthcare information that says they too will keep it private and confidential. That's really all this agreement does.
Any further questions? Thanks for that explanation, Ken. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim, we have
Next
some
item
public
is
works items here.
Authorize declaration of 2 Bobcat skid steer loaders as surplus equipment and trade-in as part of a factory Bobcat equipment buyback program. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim Keefe, if you would, maybe you can update us on both this and the next item, since they both involve regular trade-in programs.
I'd be happy to, Supervisor. This is something that we've done in the past. We continue to do this, whether it's through a manufacturer's program or on contract documents and specs that we write, that we have been able to have the opportunity to utilize these pieces of equipment and then trade them back in after a year or so of use. And it's actually at a very, very attractive price. For the Bobcats, it comes out to be about $2,700 a piece is all we pay for trading them in and getting new equipment. As I've said in the past, the tires alone cost that much if you have to replace them on these units. So one thing that it does is not only does it give us fresh equipment all the time, and believe me, the way this winter's going, our mechanics, they are working themselves, to the bone. They've been very busy maintaining a lot of our equipment. By having newer equipment, less maintenance needs as well. So we have for the Bobcats, but also for the loaders that we have from Caterpillar. It's a very similar situation. However, we have structured our bid for this one to allow for us to trade these things, these pieces of equipment in. And for the highway department, we're paying a little under $7,000 for a new piece of equipment after 1 year. And for the sewer department, we're paying about $15,000, but that's for a 2-year-old piece of equipment that has a little bit more hours on it. So it's still a very good, if you look at it on an annual basis, a very good, bang for the buck, if you will.
It's certainly a lot better than what they say about a new car when you drive it off the showroom floor and it loses half of its value or something like that. So
you're right, Bill. We should all be driving Caterpillars.
Yeah.
We discussed it at length at the FASC meeting, and it clearly seems that we're paying less on these trade-ins than just 1 year of amortization, so that we get a full year's use of this thing, far less what it would cost. We just did the simple math on the depreciation of these things. And I was suggesting at the meeting that this may reflect the different taxation programs in these foreign countries that apparently they're going out to the international market, and that the import of used equipment versus the import of new equipment is taxed at a significantly different rate, so that this hopefully will be a program that's going to continue for us, so that they can now import a used piece of equipment at a much lower cost to the buyer in those foreign countries because of the different tax structure there.
Interesting.
Bobcat will take these back and refurbish them. And again, as you said, Chris, there remains a strong overseas demand for these type of equipment. So, they're able to offer us a good value. I know last year the price was a little bit more, and I know there was some concern at the time, but one of the things that we have to realize is that at that point there were new emissions restrictions on the vehicles, which upped the cost, fairly significantly. It added probably $3,000 or $4,000 to each unit. But this year we're stabilized because the new emissions are in place, so all the vehicles come that way. So we didn't really have that that price increase due to that. So again, we're back down to where it's a very, very reasonable cost for us to participate.
And it certainly keeps our maintenance costs down, not just the tires, but our in-house maintenance staff, I presume, doesn't spend a lot of time working on these
Not
new
that
vehicles.
much, Bill, right?
Good, good. Okay, anything further? We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And the next one, Jim.
Yes. Next one is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Milton Caterpillar, Inc. to purchase 2 backhoe loaders for Highway and Sewer Department, along with approval to declare current backhoe loaders as surplus to be used for trade-in. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And again, this is the second item that Tim just discussed. The net cost is a little bit greater, but still very attractive for purchase of equipment and the use of equipment on an ongoing basis. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to seek authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with Crosby Brownlee INC to provide HVAC repairs needed for the west wing of the town hall. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Bill, this is a matter we discussed at FASC. Apparently, we've been working with Crosby Brownlee for some time under a county contract. They're no longer under the county contract, but we need to approve them as a vendor for this continued consultation for an ongoing work on our system here to keep the heat going in the town hall here.
They have been in, and obviously, given the weather conditions recently, it's been a real challenge. I know they've been in working with our staff to try to get this problem addressed.
An old system, and it's a steam system, and we're trying to keep the water flowing and find out where the obstructions are. It's short of ripping out the walls.
Further discussion?
I just wanted to ask the commissioner, I'm not sure who's administering this contract in your office. I have not seen a draft of it yet, though.
Ken, we will provide that to you. I believe we had a previous agreement with them as well, which was approved by you, but I will get the agreement back over to you for
Okay, yeah, it was
review.
my understanding just from what I read that this was on a county contract.
It was county contract, but the board authorized us to go into a special agreement with them at one point, so I will make sure that you have that.
If it's something we've already approved, that's fine. I just didn't recall.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Further? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim, one more.
Next item is
Trade-in.
to declare particular highway equipment as surplus and authorize the disposal of the same through trade-in or public auction programs. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is approval to accept a grant award in the amount of $2,700 from the Justice Court Assistance Program with authorization to amend the 2015 budget to support receipt of same. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter is for approval to accept a donation from Lifespan of Greater Rochester in the amount of $400 with authorization to amend the 2015 budget to support receipt and use of same. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Mark, you've talked about this in the past, but
This is something we get for sending officers to elder abuse training. And as you'll see from the media, we had an investigation involving a member of our senior community, and I think it's training that's very relevant to our community and our police officers.
Mark, is this largely physical abuse, or is it also
It can be
economic
anything.
abuse?
It can be neglect. It's an 8-hour training. The staff is the focus is designed to look past what's happening, to look to see if there's a neglect situation, financial abuse, physical abuse, a large spectrum. It was something that Lifespan put together, and pretty impressive.
We appreciate Lifespan working with us to get this really important training for our department. A motion and a second. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item, Bill, is to authorize an appropriation of $40,000 from the Highway Reserve account into the capital project account to support additional funds needed to purchase a 10-wheel heavy-duty dump truck with a plow. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Tie goes to.
That goes to Jim.
This is a piece of equipment that purchase was contemplated and developed through our capital improvement plan and in the budget.
Just to comment, if the board does pass this resolution, it is subject to permissive referendum, and the clerk will be publishing that appropriate notice.
Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye.
And Bill, if we could just back up in terms of discussion, this would reduce down that highway reserve account, but the reserve currently is $211,000.
Correct.
So that it would bring it down lower. I know the community is always concerned that we hold too much in reserve, but this still brings it down to an appropriate level. Any other comments on that, Suzanne? Or?
I'd like to, it's been a few years since we've put money into this reserve. I'd like to start doing that again as we rely on it when we need to replace our heavy equipment in the highway department.
It's a savings account towards future expenses and so forth, but this is our rainy day fund, so.
Okay, thank you. Next item then, Louise.
The next item is approval to accept donation from Mr. Roy T. Bruno in the amount of $50 to be added to the 2015 Police Department opening budget. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Mark, any?
Certainly, since I've been in this seat, Mr. Bruno has unsolicited sent a donation in. I've come to the board every year. You've accepted it, and we put it into our community services endeavors with the police department. And I thank Mr. Bruno for his generosity.
And as you always say, good police work we don't expect a donation to recognize it. We're grateful that people do, but really, your men and women are out there doing their job, and we're awful proud of them. So thank you, Mr. Bruno. But again, it's not necessary, but boy, it's appreciated. Let's see, we need to take a vote on that. Further, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Next matter is, Jim?
Next item is to receive and file an incentive zoning application for the Clover Lanes redevelopment project and forward it on to the planning board for review, the preparation of an advisory report. Move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just to, again, clarify what I think the supervisor said earlier, you're not taking a vote here to approve in any way this incentive zoning proposal. All you're doing is saying under our incentive zoning code that it's worthy of additional consideration. It's going to go to the planning board. The developer is going to be required to submit plans and sketches and much more detailed information than they've even prepared at this point in time to the planning board and satisfy the planning board with respect to any other requirements the planning board may have in its review. Following that, the planning board is to issue a report, and that report is to come back to the town board. In addition, before any incentive zoning is approved by this board, you'll also have to undergo a seeker process, a state environmental quality review process, to determine what impacts, if any, this project will have on the environment, including such things as traffic and what that impact will be in the neighborhood. So there will be many more opportunities to see this proposal as it goes forward, as it develops, as it changes, and many more opportunities for the public to be formally notified and involved in the process going forward.
Thanks, Ken. I would note that we have a representative from the developer and council that are here with us this evening. Any further comment? Okay, on the motion, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Again, I appreciate everybody that came out tonight, and we will be listening to your thoughts, your input, and with that said, I vote aye. Next, Chris.
Bill, this is to adopt bond resolutions to support the highway heavy equipment purchases and the Town Hall Public Safety Wing HVAC repairs. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
I would note that there are actually three separate resolutions here dealing with items that have separate PPUs, with periods of probable use, or something like that. It's a term of art just to determine you can't issue a bond for 30 years for a pickup truck that has a 5-year life. Pickup trucks have longer than a 5-year life, although we do have a pickup truck included here that we plan on financing over a 5-year period, even though the law would allow more than that.
Is this a resolution? Because it doesn't.
Yes, it is. There are 3 resolutions attached.
Right, and what I would say, first of all, just to clarify, these resolutions were all prepared, in fact, not by me, but by bond counsel.
We can vote, yeah, that's right. We can vote on them as a group if anybody wants to vote on them separately, but, you know, we can vote on the 3, on these as a group. They really reflect simply different useful lives for different items as called out by the law. We have a motion and a second. Further comment?
I missed the mover.
Chris made the motion, Jim seconded. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. This has been a heck of a month. February, record cold, not quite record snow, but an awful lot of snow. And wherever I go, Wegmans or, you know, just right here in the lobby of Town Hall, people stop me. They ask me how the highway department crews are holding up. They compliment me on the crews. Sometimes they have questions or concerns, you know, but overwhelmingly the sentiment is to convey thanks to our crew. So I want to do that right now. This is a rare night that it's not snowing, but they have been working. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Judy. You're right. I don't want to jinx it. You are so right. But in all seriousness, they have been working very hard this cold, snowy month. Couple of things I want to remind people of. If you have a hydrant near your home and you haven't had a chance to shovel it out, please do. I may have mentioned at the last meeting, but I'll mention it again. I just was so pleased when I heard a couple of our Brighton High School students when they had a holiday. I think it was on Martin Luther, maybe not have been one of the holidays we had. And they spent part of that day going through their neighborhood shoveling out fire hydrants. Kudos, great job for them, and great job to so many people that have done it. But that snow isn't going to melt right away. So if you haven't yet, please do. Also, please remember, parking is prohibited overnight. And as we said last meeting, we are ticketing. We will ticket, we give out warnings, early in the season. But at this point, you've seen in the city where they've had to declare emergencies. Fortunately, most of we've got pretty good compliance. But still, when there is a car left on the street overnight, it does hinder the ability of the plow. On some of our tighter streets, it makes it hard simply for a plow to get through. And I've said it many times, and it's still true. The experience of riding in a snowplow, watching one of our highway staff operate that plow for 2 or 3 hours in a blinding snowstorm, seeing how they maneuver that thing, how well they know our streets and highways. Give them all the help you can. Please make sure you don't leave your car out on the street overnight. I think people have been pretty good about that, but I know we have issued a few tickets. So that's all I have tonight. Ken, matters of the attorney?
I just wanted to extend my thanks to the town board for making it possible for me to attend the Association of Towns meeting last week in New York City. Attended some good continuing legal education programs that I think would be helpful and relevant to my work here for the town. So thank you for that opportunity.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's always a great programming that they put on down there. Matters of the town clerk.
I have nothing this evening.
Matters of the board.
I have a question. Judy, have you announced or reminded people about the...
It's too late.
It,
For you.
Oh, I think I verbally said I was planning on coming.
Did you come to the podium tonight to remind? Would you do that, please?
Because I am planning on being there.
Ditto.
Even though the deadline was 10 days ago for the BNU supper, which is this Sunday night, March 1st at Buckland Lodge at 6 p.m., I will take a reservation. Today's Wednesday. By tomorrow, it would be nice, okay? All right, and you can call me, 442-5111, and give it to me over the phone if you need be. And I'll take it tonight if you would like to. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great event. Lots of fun. Enjoy meeting some new neighbors, and real nice night out. Thanks, Judy, for that. Thank you for organizing that event for all these years.
Bill, along the lines of your comment, and yes, so let's dig out those hydrants. I attempted it in my neighborhood. I did dig out the hydrant itself, but the access point, I should have taken a sharper shovel with me. When you go out there, don't take your regular shovel alone. Take a spade or an ice chipper, because the berm that's in front of it is pretty impenetrable without an axe.
I have a pickaxe you can borrow.
Yeah, no, I had to go back to the shed to get it. But so take sharper tools with you when you go out.
But it really does, and they say 3-4 feet around it, just so the hose and the coupling and everything else can fit in, and it is hard, no doubt about it. And again, the reminder. I'm not sure I mentioned it earlier. A lot of people have private plow. Make sure that they're not blocking your sidewalk when they push the snow from your driveway. There's 3 things they cannot do. They cannot plow it across the street. They cannot plow the snow into the street, and they cannot plow the snow so it blocks your sidewalk. I know we got a lot, and for some people it's getting harder and harder to find a spot on your own property to plow it, but please, and if you need to, remind your plow contractor, because again, we get reports. I had someone today come in and ask me what to do, and I sent him down to your office, Tim. But we will call if we identify that a given company is doing that. We will call them nicely and remind them that it's important that they not put the snow in the street or put the snow on the sidewalks. Even during the winter, there are people out walking, not just the letter carriers. So give everybody a break, and please help us help you. Want to thank our cable TV crew for working tonight and bringing this meeting out to everybody. Any other matters of the board? Then can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person?
So moved.
Second.
We will not be coming out of executive session into the public session. So I want to thank you all for being here. Have a good night. We'll see you at our next town board meeting, March 11th, 2015. Have a great evening. Oh yeah, let's do